So, good morning each and everyone. So, we are here to tackle about the chapter 7 about surveillance and the undercover assignment. So, first is surveillance defined. Surveillance is the designated or secret observation of the places, person, and the vehicles for the purpose of obtaining information concerning the identities of the activities. So, here are the types of surveillance. To First is covert surveillance when the subject is not aware that he is being observed. Number 2, of overt surveillance when the subject is aware that he is being tailed. So, B, purpose of the surveillance: to get information of the criminal activities for the future raid. So, for example, in these activities, the criminal in the one place is about drugs. So number 2, to discover the identities of the person frequenting the place to establish their criminal activities. So for example, in this area in the Iligan City is the Saray, one of the most many drug lord in this area. So number 3, to obtain evidence of the crime or to prevent the commission thereof by arrest or raid. Number 4, to establish a legal grounds for the application of search warrant. Number 5, to arrest the criminal in the flagrante delicto in Garcia 58. See other types of surveillance. So number 1, fix the surveillance watching of the house or building. So for example, in this here are the bodyguards or the CCTV camera in the house or building. So to moving surveillance on the foot or by motor vehicle. So next is the special method of surveillance. First is wiretapping. Telephone line is to tap somewhere along the line, either in the street line or in the telephone company. The tap line is run into the recorded, which is monitored by investigator. So to conceal the microphones may be concealed in a room or may be discussed as a common object such a desk ornament. The wire is the run to a nearby room where the conservation is recorded. Number 3, tape recorder is a pocket-sized tape recorder may be concealed when the recorded the conservation. Number 4, television's closed-circuit system may be used so that the activities of the subject may be observed by the surveillance at the distance. E, kinds of surveillance. Surveillance of places. Surveillance of places, example of this, the location, how about the doing the person or people doing a crime or this area is conducted of criminal liabilities. Number 2, tailing or shadowing. Number 3, undercover investigation or roping. Surveillance of places. This crime requires this type of surveillance are gambling, abortion, prostitution, illegal sales of drugs or alcohol, dishonesty among the people or identified in the divorce. These are the crimes requires the surveillance about in all this type of crime. So observation of surveillance of place. First is that to detect criminal activities. Second, to discover the identities of the person in the frequent to establish and determine their relationship. 3, to discern the habits of the person who lives on or frequents the place. 4, to obtain evidence of the crime to prevent the commission of a crime. 5, to provide a basis for obtaining a search warrant. And 6, to apprehend person in the commission of an offense. So B, the type of the place surveillance. First is using room, a nearby house or business establishment and remaining undercover. 2, remaining outdoors and posing as a person who would normally conduct his business in such area. For example, laborer, carpenter, or street vendor. C, equipment to be used surveillance of the place, like picture camera with the telephoto lenses, binoculars, or 3, tape recording apparatus, 4 wiretapping device, and 5 other recording instrument. So number 2, shadowing or tailing. Shadowing or tailing in the act of a following person in Cdi1 57. So purpose of shadowing, to detect evidence of criminal activities. So number 2, to establish the association of the subject. 3, to define a wanted person. Number 4, to protect a witness. Number 5, to discover the association, amusement, and habits of an employee who was being proposed for a position or responsibility. Number 6, to check the loyalty of the employee in the establishment where the thieves have acquired. So B, the don'ts in shadowing. So first is don't meet the eye of the subject. 2, don't adopt a sneaking, sleuthing, creeping, peeking, hacksaw manner. Don't sneak in and out of outdoors or doorways. Sleuth behind the subject, creep the around parked cars, peek from the around corners. It is unnecessary, inflictual, and above all attract attention. So number 3, don't wear a storybook disguise. So 4, don't carry the briefcase, notebook, papers, or other noticeable object. And 5, don't greet the fellow officer or allow them to greet you. So 6, don't make a notation or entries ostensive in Cdi1 57. So methods of foot surveillance. First is one-man shadow. It is conducted by one alone in the shadowing subject. So two-man shadow. This is the easier for the surveillance to fully cover the subject. Number 3, three-man shadow or ABC technique of shadowing. The three shadowers are represented as A, B, and C. A is close to subject and follows him at distance depending on the pedestrian traffic. So D2 particular. Turning corners, the surveillance should not rush if the subject turns to corner. Number 2, entering the building. If the building is a store, the surveillance should wait until the subject comes out. Number 3, for this example is riding a bus, or surveillance should board and same bus and sit behind or the side of the subject. Number 5, riding a train, the shadow must fall in the towards the ticket both behind the subject so that he could overhead a destination, or he could merely request for a timetable or a ticket for the last destination. Number 6, instead a traitor, the shadower should be seated behind the subject. Number 7, inside the private house, the shadower should wait outside at the distance to inconspicuous. Number 8, inside a restaurant, shadower should allow some time before entering the restaurant to give the subject the time to select his table. Number 9, telephone booth, the shadower may take the next booth or stand near the subject to hear conversation. Number 10, inside a small private or public office, the shadower must wait outside by pretending to be a customer of nearby establishment. So number 11, in a hotel, the room number of the subject could be inquired from the hotel registry. So D3, recognition of surveillance. The first is the risk of being recognized of shadower of the subject, and 2, the risk of being lost of eluded by the subject. So the surveillance must be prepared to take intelligent countermeasure to such risk. So first is test for detailing the common trick of the suspect when he comes conscious that he is being tailed is to board a public convenience such as bus, street, car, or subway train, and then jumping off the vehicle. 2, the convoy, sometimes the suspect is being guarded against the shadower. So shadowing by automobile. In tailing by an automobile, 2 cars are more effective than 1. So discussing the shadower car. The following are the precautions in discussing car. So first is use security plates may be used in colorum cars. 2. Rent a car. 3. Borrowing cars from a friends. During the nighttime, remove out, put additional lights on the car. 5. Do not violate the parking rules or traffic laws. Number 6. Radio antennae should be removed and radio volume reduced. So, number 2. Undercover assignment. So, the undercover assignment uh, is grouping for the form of investigation in which the investigator assumes a different of unofficial identity in order to obtain information. Undercover operation is an operation where the investigator assumes a fictitious identity in order to infiltrate the ranks of the criminal for the purpose of obtaining information. So B. Objective of the undercover work. So first, obtaining evidence. 2. Obtaining information. 3. Checking for informant. 4. Fix the surveillance assist installation of investigate equipment. 5. Checking loyalty. And 6. Subversive organization detailed information concerning a subversive group. 7. Security check. Listen to a conversation on the security leaks. Careless observation. Number 8. Preliminary to search or raid determine the presence of contrabands. So, C. Selection of undercover works. So, background. A good undercover man must be able to fit of the environment of his assignment. Number 2. Temperament. A calm, affable, enduring personality is required. Number 3. Intellect. The undercover agent must above all the intelligent. D. Common places assigned for the undercover work. So first, here the example of the common places assigned for undercover work. So first is neighborhood assignment, social assignment, frequent places visited by the subject. 3. Organizational assignment, joins the group of syndicate. 4. Work assignment. So the preparation for the assignment. So first is study subject. Name, full name, alias, nicknames. It hold the public office in the same department. 2. Address the past and present residential. So 3. Description, identity, mark, picture, etc. 4. Family and relatives and acquaintance with members of the family suggest another source information. Number 5. Associative knowledge of associates will understand the subject activities. Number 6. Character, the temperament, the subject's strength and weakness should be known. 7. Drug and drug addiction like alcohol, gambling, and etc. Number 8. Hobbies suggest simple way of developing acquaintance. Number 9. Education. This knowledge suggests the limitation of the subject and will indicate the desired level education in the investigation. Number 10. Occupation, the specialty. This suggests against possible meeting ground or also indicate of the character of the subject. So here are the knowledge of the area. So first, map the general layout feature of the area. 2. National and the religious background of the prevalent racial characteristic. So for transportation, the routes of surface lines should be known together with the schedule of service. Number 5. Public utilities. Knowledge of the matters of the type of current available will assist the settings in the plant for technical surveillance. So, golden rules of undercover agent. So first is don't drink while working as undercover. 2. Don't court women. 3. Don't take a woman or undercover assignment. 4. Don't claim the big shot. Don't feel the provide person in the place who can vouch for the investigator. 6. Don't spend too much money. G. Means of the contract on headquarters. First is telephone and other than your personal phone. 2. Written report coded message. And 3. Secret meetings in Garcia 72. And here the implementation operation. And third, surveillance defined. So duties in surveillance, conducting on surveillance. And B, appearance of surveillance, like average, size and height and build. I have no noticeable peculiarities in appearance of mannerism or any other appearance of surveillance. So for subject defined, the subject is the person in one place watch. So here are the chapter 8, reactive and proactive methods of the investigation. So types of criminal investigation. In the first is reactive investigation and proactive investigation. And 2, proactive investigation or proactive strategies, which are often covered in nature, usually involves the police in initiating investigate activities prior to the occurrence of a crime. So proactive methods of the investigation, like for example blending operation, B stakeout operation, C decoy operation, D interdiction, and also the chapter 9 about crime scene research. So we all know the crime scene search is all about a combination of the forensic photography. Gathering, recording, the preserving evidence in the crime scene is a necessary job in investigation. Inefficient search or delay on the part of the investigator in conducting to the search of the effect of the result of the investigation. Moreover, the investigator should also consider or give extra care in the crime scene operation, since all the necessary evidence in the connection of the crime or their evidence must be in position by the time the suspect leave the scene until the investigator arrives therein. And it also important the evidence is properly collected, marked, tagged, and preserved. So here are the golden rule of the crime scene. So first is never touch or move any object in the crime scene unless properly photographed, measure, and indicate the sketch in one place. So for example, in the forensic photography, here are the depth of the body of the person. He never touch or move in object because he define or he investigate about the common of how to kill in the one person, or locate or to get a picture in a criminal life, in a crime scene of the death of the body of the person. So here are the crime scene rules. So A, do not use the crime scene as a temporary headquarters. 2, do not unnecessarily touch anything or this, preventing the destruction of the evidence, and avoid the embarrassment of having your fingerprints on the evidence. 3, get the names of all persons present at scene, including police officer, coroner, and so on, and forward the list to the police identification unit of elimination of fingerprint comparison on. So 4, keep all the unnecessary person out of the crime scene. So 5, do not drop an evidence that might contain fingerprints in type of the cloth, newspaper. So number 4, keep all the unnecessary person out of the crime scene. 5, do not drop any evidence that might contain fingerprints in any type of cloth, newspaper, envelopes, or paper bags. 7, try to determine points of entry and exit. 8, examine for a presence of latent prints. Number 9, locate an object that might have been handled by the suspect and process them. 10. Maintain a copy of the case history for the files. So, the third is assignment of duties. The first example is officer in charge TL1 who direct the search, assign duties, and assume responsibility for effectiveness of the search. 2. Assistant, he must implement the orders of OIC. 3. Photographer, he photographs the scene and individual pieces of evidence. 4. Sketcher, he makes true sketch of the scenes, giving a later finished sketch. Number 5. Master note taker, one of our writes down in a shorthand observation the description during the search. 6. Evidence man, he collects, preserves, and tags articles of the evidence. 7. Measure, he makes overall measurement of the scene. So, here are the duty of the forensic photography or forensic police. So, next is the stages of the crime scene search. So, first is approach scene. Second, secure and protect. Third, preliminary survey. Fourth, narrative description. Fifth, photograph the scene. Sixth, sketch the scene. 7. Evaluation of the latent fingerprint evidence of physical evidence. 8. Detailed search. 9. Collection, recording, marking the preservation of evidence. 10. Final survey to ensure condition of the crime scene have been documented as true as possible. 11. Release of the scene. Number 5. Standard methods of recording investigate data. So, A is photograph, B sketching of crime scene, C written notes, what you have been seen or observed, D developing or lifting fingerprints found at the crime scene, E gathering the physical evidence, or G type recording of the sound, H videotape recording of the object, E written statement of the subject and witnesses. So, here the crime scene of processing. So, A, crime scene search, and second is investigator notebook, and third is common investigator or oversight, and next is general investigate procedures. So general investigative procedure or purposes. This investigate the procedure is designed to adapt to current trends in the modern investigation in the line with the PNP integrated transformation program, which seeks to improve integrate the different manuals used the PNP to serve as a guide in all aspects of the police investigation. So here are the procedure. First is upon receipt of call in walk-in compliance. So, these are the duty desk officer shall be informed as a policeman. A. Record the time it was reported. B. Get the identity of the caller on compliant. C. Get the place of the incident. D. Get the nature of the incident. E. Get the number of victim. F. Recorded the brief synopsis of the incident. 9. Direct the nearest mobile car, beat patrollers of the nearest police precinct to act as the first responder equipped with the police line to secure the place incident, a camera, and lastly, inform the duty investigator, preferably one team or investigators. So, at the crime scene, the first responder is her duty as stated in Chapter 1, Protocol 4. So, if in a serious condition, bring the victim immediately to the nearest hospital using emergency services. And second, photograph and make sketch of the victim. 3. Get the dying declaration if necessary. For example, anong pangalan ang address mo? B. Kilala mo ba ang gumawa nito sa iyo? C. Sa pakiramdam mo ba ay kamatay mo ang tinamo mong sugat? In this serious condition, however, if there is still a chance to ask more questions, then follow-up should be done. The statement once reduced into the writing shall be duly signed by or with thumb mark of the victim. So B, if not a serious condition. So first is bring the victim immediately to the nearest hospital using emergency service. 2. Get the identity and other data of the victim. 3. Get the initial interview from the victim. So number 2, isolate the arrested suspect and separate them from any probable witness of the incident. So first is record the time the suspect was arrested, and 4, wait for the investigator to interview the suspect. So other consideration, recording the permanent information such as time and date, places, and weather condition, names and addresses of the witnesses. And second, note the position of the victim upon arrival, discovery of the victim. And 3, take notes of the identity of the person who entered crime scene prior of the arrival of the investigator and the SOCO. So, letter C, duties of the first officer at the crime scene. The success of the investigation depends of the large extent on the action taken by the first officer to arrive at the crime scene. He should follow correct procedure, not to make an error by what he does or fails to do. So the first responder of P are defined are members of the PNP or other law enforcement agency who are mandated and expected to be the first respond to cause assistance in case in incident of crime. E. Investigation procedure at the crime scene. And second is upon the arrival at the crime scene. And here the example of upon arrival at the crime scene. So, E2, recording. The investigator begins the process of the recording, pinching facts and the details of investigation the moment he arrives at the crime scene. So, for example, in this one, the investigator begin to process the recording and permanent facts, details of investigation, who movement of criminal liabilities in one places at the crime scene. So, E, searching of evidence. So, for example of this searching of evidence is the how to locate a criminal in one places. And second is further search may be necessary after the evidence and the statement obtained have been evaluated. So, and 11, in the large outdoor areas, it is advisable to define the area into the strip of 4 feet wide. The policeman may first search at the strip on his left at the faces the scene and then the adjoining strips. So, here are the police line defined. Police, the line authority. Line is the use to preserve the crime scene. The separate crowds, the position. Person have the authority to handle crime or CIC. Chalk line defined. And H, release of the crime scene. And I, importance of the search in the crime scene. And G, points of the remember in the crime search. And K, how to send evidence to the laboratory. And note, if the package contain a firearms, put indication. So, and L, preserving the protecting the crime scene means. And M, standard CIC forms. And thank you, and God bless you all.